Welcome back to Harem and Labyrinth in the World. Anime Review episode number 9. This episode is called Bath. This basically just continues from the rest of chapter 2 and basically goes into chapter 3. Now, what happens this episode? Well, basically we have various stuff happening. In the case of Kego and Roxanne, they basically continue their adventures. We open the episode up basically with the night just after Roxanne and Kego had just had sex. We see the first thing we see is Roxanne giving Kego his wake up kiss. Yes, seriously. This is actually something that does happen in the book a lot because every time they wake up, basically he requests of her to get a good morning kiss every morning. And she's like, "Oh, I can do this all day and night." But they probably need the money. They probably should get out of bed and get dressed, get money. So they go to the court of the Labyrinth, and they go there one. Now this is the first time Roxanne has been there. They go in and they're like, "Oh, it's crowded." And of course they get to the first floor pretty quickly, and they get to the first floor boss, and it's a Khaled, and it was so easy. He's like, "Man, this was too easy. I'm going back to Vale." Yeah, he does a little exploring there. Battles level 4 boss is basically a sheep. Yes, a sheep. We have various times when they go in the labyrinth. We also have it where a subplot of the episode is that, they need to basically wash their clothes. So, basically, Kego, okay, this would be a good size for a wash, right? Like, can you make these things bigger? Like, really big? It's like, okay, deep. And after, when defeat the bow sheep, which also basically hurt Roxanne, and of course it briefly put Kego to sleep for a bit. How long? They don't say. And then when he rises back, what he wants to do is basically put in a bathtub. And it takes him some time to basically fill with bath water and heat it up. It takes him a long time. He's basically near exhaustion. And Rox thinks, oh, it's probably for him. Nope, it's both of them. And of course, before this, they go to various different restaurants to do some eating. And at one point, Roxanne is basically talking with a mouthful with food. He, of course, finds it gross. Anybody finds this particularly gross when people talk with their mouth full. Mm-hmm. Yes. Also, they also get... Well, before I continue with the thing, I have to discuss other stuff. Well, they also go to the landlady's shop. Well, I should say the hardware store, who also technically their landlady, get seeds from her along with some hoes. They cultivate a field, they build a fence, basically a medieval style fence, plant seeds, and then of course they wash their clothes. That's when the whole wash basin thing came along. And then we finally talk about what happens in the bath, where after of course they put towels on, of course he basically asks her to take off her towel. And of course, he apparently made soap off screen. Yes, soap. And according to Roxanne, soap is expensive. Here, it doesn't cost very much. I guess their world is basically a luxury. So he proceeds to wash the entirety of the front of her. Wash her arms, her legs, her chest, her belly, and possibly her groin area. And then he also proceeds to wash her back and butt while they're standing. Yes. And he's like, well, let me do the same thing too. And she proceeds to wash everything for him. And then they kiss, and then the episode ends with them in bed again. Yep. Yeah. They basically end these two where they probably just finished having a round of sex, and that's how the episode ends. Not a lot really happens here, though of course, Kego does mention he wants to add more members to the team. Well, this probably will lead into basically adding the blacksmith to the team, who is a dwarf. Now, she does first make a first appearance in book 3. I think she made first appearance, I think it was later on in chapter 3, I think it was. 3 or 4, I don't remember exactly which one. I know it wasn't chapter 3, I know it was in book 3 when they introduced her. You could say watch this episode that not a lot happens per se. It's mostly a little bit, it's not that much story going on this one. Excuse me. And some people might think, oh, it's like a hentai because the characters are constantly having sex. Well, excuse me, that's actually part of the story per se, because it's him basically doing Roxanne, though he's going to get more later on. As seen in the open title sequence, he's going to get more women, and especially also in episode 2 when they do a flash forward. And one of those girls is going to pop up probably in the next episode or two. Which one? Don't know. Also, I do not know how long the season is supposed to last for, because that's a strange question. I have no idea how long the season is going to last for. And basically, we're on the second to most recent book I had read. Right now, the series is on at 9 episodes in. We're basically on the second to most recent book I read for the series. I've only read the first 4 books. I have not read any further than book 4. The reason is because there's not much translation for it. It's in the Revolution. It's the same. This one website I've been reading it from, which does basically match a lot of stuff happened in the anime. Yes, they also cut the bit out here of all the grocery shopping they had to do in the episode. Yeah, grocery shopping. Now, usually the scenes of fiction doesn't last very long. In the book, they drag it out for about 4 or 5 pages. Seems like, and the thing is, when people do a scene of grocery shopping, it's usually a very brief scene. Like, let's say in live action, for example. Usually a scene involves characters going grocery shopping, might last about 5 minutes. And yeah, it's very quick. They go through a couple aisles and they check out, and that's basically it. You can't do a really good scene in a grocery store. It's not that interesting at all. And it's something that, unlike in the case with the furniture store stuff, which is not really seen very much in live action, grocery store shopping is actually seen in live action a lot. But it's very brief. Like, the longest you might see a scene last for in a grocery store is maybe 5 minutes. Because, like, unless, of course, it's a bookstore. Bookstores, I don't mind, because that can make stuff interesting if you say in a bookstore. But in the case of a grocery store, it's kind of interesting because you see all the grocery stuff. And it's done very quickly. It's like shopping cart, look at the stuff, and then go straight to checkout. You don't have to see him give every single item. In the book, they describe every single item they buy for food. Like milk, eggs, stuff like that. And they mention it in thorough detail. And in my honest opinion, I think cutting this from the anime definitely was a good idea. Just like with the furniture store scene. Not necessary. The brief scene we actually have where you have Kegel shopping for a tub, basically a laundry tub, that was fine. It was basically straight to the point. The whole point of it was him get a bathtub for him and Roxanne, so basically they can basically wash each other's bodies and possibly have sex in the damn thing. That's really the whole purpose of that scene. He does mention he's somewhat of a pervert, but he mentions his hey. He doesn't say the Roxanne. Not at all. Of course, any guy watching the series can see that, yeah, Roxanne is hot, despite the fact she's basically a wolfkin. Now, I do know, basically, it's a blacksmith, basically, they're going to introduce first. What species it is, it's not human per se, but it's definitely a very familiar type of species that's popped up in many different fantasy series. Which one is it going to be? I am not going to say, but this type of species did pop up very recently in an anime I just really recently watched. Which one? I'll reveal that when we discuss that particular species. But yes, that's going to be pretty much it for Cycle of You. I'm also going to do a review for a great job. Must not be defeated. And I'll probably close out for tonight. And I'm also going to reveal a little fate with that one. Okay? Next video. Bye.